What up? What up? What up? What up? We are back, y'all. What's happening? It's Real Talk with Rajan. Y'all already know what it is. You know the name. You know the game. If this is your first time hearing this, you are about to experience something so cold. Welcome back to Real Talk with Rajan, man. So, what I need y'all to do, go ahead and share this out. Tonight's show is something that you want to watch. You want to see this. You want to see tonight's show. We got a very special guest, my good homeboy. I know him as Benny, but y'all know him as Tajriq. Tajriq, aka Spellbound. Yo, y'all want to see this tonight, man. I'm telling y'all want to see this tonight. Go ahead and share. We're gonna have a fun conversation tonight. Just two homeboys kicking it tonight, man. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. And I haven't seen them since what, high school? This is gonna be real fun. This is about to be real fun. So yo, go ahead and share this out. We are live. I said the show starts at 8 p.m. tonight, so I got 3 minutes. I got 3 minutes before we're starting officially. But please go ahead and share this out. Oh man. So we've got breaking news. Apparently, that 70s show actor Danny Masterson was charged with raping 3 women. Yeesh. And I love that 70s show. I don't think that was the guy with the curly hair. I like Danny Masterson. That's terrible if he's raping people. Shouldn't be doing that. That's terrible. That is awful. But yeah, man, with that being said, we're going to have a great show tonight. Please join us. We are live. I have 2 minutes left. We are live. Come and join us, y'all. What's going on? We are live. I'm trying to share it from the other place. I'm share from there. What's going on? Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. We got about 2 minutes still, about a little less than 2 minutes. I said 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, so 8 o'clock it will be. 8 o'clock it will be. And we will be rolling with the homie. All right. What's going on? I'm trying to share from my side. Feel free to share from your side. Real Talk with Rajan will be live in less than 1 minute. Thank you so much for joining us. We are live, baby. We at. Yep. All right, let's do it, man. Hello, world, and welcome back to Real Talk with Rajan, when nothing's off limits. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with me, and I appreciate that. I am your host, Ray Jean Lewis. Now, here on Real Talk with Rajan, everything's debatable, so in any given week, we could be discussing anything from sports to music to politics. You name it, we'll discuss it. Now, for those who are new to the show, Real Talk with Rajan also has a goal of shining a light on the great things and the great people that exist not only here in the Low Country, but all around the world. And today I have a very special guest. This gentleman is near and dear to my heart. I've known him since middle and high school, man. So shout out to Mr. Tajriq, aka Spellbound, for joining us this evening. Thank you for joining me, sir.
Thank you for having me. Shalom to everyone listening. How y'all doing?
All right. So please introduce yourself to the audience for those who may not know you.
Ladies and gentlemen of the audience, I am Tariq, aka Spellbound. Long time friend of Mr. Rajan Lewis here. We've known each other for quite some time. He's been a very, very, very dear person that I've looked up to over the years. Thank you for having me on your show tonight. God bless you and God keep you. Big shout out to your brother too. Big shout out to him, Carlo.
Already.
I am a area poet. Blazing Cuts is in the building. I am a local area poet. I performed nationally as well. I performed at New Eurekan Poetry Lounge in New York City. I performed at Tavern on the Lake in Orlando, Florida in 2012. Performed in Alabama, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, here in South Carolina, all over the place, North Dakota, California. You name it, I've kind of pretty much been there, done it. I've ripped shows as many places as possible. Unfortunately, back before cell phones had recording capabilities, so a lot of that stuff wasn't recorded. I've done it for a very long time. I enjoy it. It's been a while since I've been on stage since. I'm looking forward to an opportunity in the meantime. So, you got a show, you want a good poet to come, I'll gladly do it.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, so you plugged your poetry. So that means before we get off, you gotta be ready to we probably gonna ask you for one.
I'm always prepared.
All right, all right, all right, all right.
Always.
So you're a poet, you're a writer, you're a thinker. So let's talk. Let's break down what that means. How do those things come together to make what? And is it Tajriq? Am I pronouncing it correctly?
No. It's Tariq, the JSI.
Tariq. Okay, I want to make sure I don't like mispronounce people's names because I have a name that people mispronounce and I can't stand it. I cannot stand it. You know, I know you as Benny. So
yeah, man.
But so where does Tajriq SpellBound come from? Because I know you as Tariq. I mean as Benny. So where does Tajriq come from?
My sophomore year in high school, had a little stint delving back and forth into Islam, and there's a gentleman, Derek. He was a full-fledged Muslim. He used to hang out pretty much at the corner by Garrett High School. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. And one day he pulled me aside and he just talked to me like, "You real bright, you real intelligent. You know, I like your name, but nah, you Tariq." And that's what he called me from that day forward. It's been with me ever since. I've just carried it, and it's become a part of who I am. It's become the staple, pretty much, of who I am. Don't get me wrong; it's not a split personality thing. I know who I am on my birth certificate, who I am in my daily life, and we are all one and the same. However, Tariq just so happens to fit a little bit better. So
yeah,
it's been with me ever since. It's been with me in the military. It's been with me since I got out, and it will be with me until I leave this side.
All right, good stuff. I like that. Good stuff. And you know, like you know, when the great Cassius Clay changed his name to Muhammad Ali, his name was Muhammad Ali. You don't call him Cassius. I don't care if his mama called him Clay. We don't call him Clay. We call him Muhammad Ali.
I'm gonna call him Clay.
Mama call him Clay. I'm gonna call him Clay.
I'm gonna call him Clay. I'm gonna call him Clay.
So first of all, I just want to go ahead and let people know, if you are tuning in, please don't hesitate. If you have questions or anything like that you want to share with Tariq, please be sure to share your questions. We're going to share all his social media information and everything, you know, as we go along in the interview. But this interview really going to be more along the lines of like just letting him, you know, fire off on the stuff that he's passionate about. I want the world to know, you know, more than just the poet and the writer. We're going to talk about the poetry and we're going to talk about the writing, but I also like let people to know the man behind the art, if you will. So so you're a writer. So what kind of writer are you? Do you write novels or?
Initially, I started just writing back in school. You don't know this. Back in Brentwood, I used to write letters for people. I used to write letters for people in Brentwood.
Okay.
And I wound up writing letters for people in Garrett. I wound up writing letters for people at Starr, where I graduated. And little by little, I would write for people. Over my collegiate experience, I had opportunities to help people with theses and major doctorate level papers, all the way down to freshman level papers. I've just always been into writing. I remember as a child, my father make us practice our handwriting, like, ridiculously hard. Everyone says I have nice penmanship, and they say that to this day. I put it all into practice throughout the course of my life. Something as simple as my signature and making sure that it's not able to be copied or replicated. I know how to do that in at least 20 different ways. To just simply helping people type papers. Writing has just been the anti-drug of anti-drugs. saved my life more times than I can count, and I have not stopped writing. I will not stop writing. I can't afford to.
Okay.
It's one of my gifts. One of my gifts.
All right. So do you plan on like using any, have you started working on a book or anything like that? Because I could see you writing a book. I know at least a poetry book, if nothing else.
Absolutely. What I wound up doing, um, I wound up taking a lot of things that I wrote in 2003, 2004, and 2006, that whole
Hmm.
time frame. And I compiled a lot of that into a music album that I finally put out in 2012. It was just local, only to the closest folks to me and a few folks abroad that had supported me, and it got a lot of pretty good reviews. Most of the things that I have written, I've got I got this much stuff written that I have not put into one book because they're in so many books.
Mm.
As of late, I have been compiling a book of poetry, where which I will put that out. Some of which is on my album in form of music,
Mm.
but they were all poems first. I don't like to consider myself a rapper or a pop artist, but I do rap poetry, as I would like to call it, rap poetry.
Okay.
And I can take my poems and put them to music. I can take my music and put it to no music. Just say it as it is.
Okay.
Doesn't really matter for me. I
Absolutely.
enjoy it.
Absolutely. So when you talk about, you're traveling, I know you see you travel to do poetry. Um, what is your like been what's your favorite thing about being on stage and performing your poetry?
Man, it is an adrenaline rush of massive, epic, gargantuan proportions. It is something that you can't put it into words. You have to do it. When you look at entertainers like the late great Michael Jackson, look at artists like Prince and Rest in Soul, and so on and so forth. When you look at artists like them, and when they're on stage, it's almost like a profession. You can just tell that they're in their element, and when the music is done, back to themselves.
Mm.
And that's truly how it is. I've technically pretty much always been a shy-natured person in my conversation and in other aspects of my life. But on stage, I it's a totally different person, and I enjoy that because that's the part of me that perhaps I wish I always was. But then again, also in the same breath, I think humility has been the staple to differentiate between what I do on stage versus how I live my life.
Mm.
Because regardless to it, the stage is going to go away one day, and I'm not going to be able to perform. What is my life going to say for me? I would rather humility be that statement. I would rather humility be that statement.
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. So let's talk about a few, current events topics. I wanted to make sure, I wanted to give you an opportunity to fire off, what's going on here, in the world. There's a lot going on around
Woof.
us. So I guess we'll start,
Yes,
with
sir.
the elephant in the room. I want to start with this right here. And I want to make this statement before I want to preface it with this because I meant to do this at the start of the show and I lost track of time. Um, 5 years ago today, 5 years ago today was a landmark occasion for all the wrong reasons, especially here in the state of
All the
South
wrong
Carolina, in the
reasons.
city of Charleston. I remember it was late at night and I was at my homeboy's house. We were actually recording music because my sister was working on a gospel album that she was going to be putting out. And we were recording the background vocals for it. And I walked out into the living room area of the studio and I looked at the TV and it flashed and it said that there was a shooting at a church. And during this shooting, they said that the gentleman came in, sat down, and took part in the worship service, the Bible study that it was. And after they prayed and after they had worshiped together, this gentleman pulled out an automatic weapon and began firing on the audience, firing on the other people that were in the church. That gentleman, and I use that term very loosely, was Dylan Roof, and those people that he killed were the Emmanuel Nine. He fired on them repeatedly to the point where there were bodies laying on top of bodies at a Bible study. You later found out that gentleman had written a manifesto, and he had plans on going and doing this at many other churches in the area. Thankfully, he was caught and apprehended. Somehow, he was taken in alive, and now all we're left with in the memory is the memory of the 9 souls that we lost on June 17th, 2015. So, with that being said, before I ask my first question, brother, I want to take just a couple seconds of silence for those 9 souls. All right. So, with that being said, what are your memories of June 17th, 2015?
Oh man, I went on a tirade, and I couldn't believe it. My mother is an AME pastor, and the first thing that I could think of is, what if it were my mother who happened to be in that company at the time? So I was very, very, very irate, absolutely pissed about it. On my very first Facebook page, which the people decided to take it from me, I don't have access to it anymore.
Mm.
I made a statement, and I said it plain and simple: if it's a race war that you want, it's gonna be a race war that you get.
Mm.
You know, Malcolm X said it very best back in the 1960s about the powder keg that is in America. And right now, what we're seeing is an emergence of that powder keg all over the place. On that day in Charleston alone, I think I think we all felt some level of hurt that had not been experienced in quite some time. And I still hurt for that.
Yeah.
In fact, if you recall, one of the members of the 9, one of our teachers at Brentwood, Myra Quarles Thompson, she was my 8th grade English teacher.
Mm-hmm.
She was my English teacher in 8th grade. And Reverend Daniel Simmons, he was the pastor of my father's church around the time my grandmother died. Olive Branch AME in Mall. He was the pastor there at the time, and he was gunned down in the event. Taiwanzi, I knew him in Columbia when I lived up there. So there's a few people that I knew that I was pretty close to over the years. So it hits me a little bit differently, being that I was close to them personally. It and it still does. You know, it doesn't really heal. I've been
Mm.
to a few funerals since then at Mother Emmanuel, and it doesn't feel the same.
Right.
One of the stances that I've taken on this is rather historical. You know, we looked at church as being the place where we could learn, we could get things done back during slavery and other things like that. But historically, the church has never really been a safe haven for us, black folks. It's never been a real safe haven. When we go back to the 60s and we look at the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing of the
Yeah.
4 little girls that were killed down there, when has church ever been a safe haven for us? Black people, we are inherently a forgiving natured people. We will welcome you back.
Yeah.
But when these types of things happen and we look around in the social arena and we see our brothers and our sisters being gunned down, essentially,
Yeah.
we don't even have to go down the list of names. But the one that stands out to me the most is Philando Castile.
Yeah.
When I saw a picture of that young man, he wore glasses just like me, got dreads like me. We about the same skin complexion. He owned a firearm just like me. It was lawful and legal. Didn't have his firearm in his hand. He reached for his wallet and was killed. And the police told him, you know, get the wallet, let me get your ID and everything else. So in compliance with the command, he's killed publicly. Will Smith said it best. You know, our lives are now being recorded as, you know, and I'm paraphrasing here, our lives are being taken and we're being executed
Mm.
as a spectacle, as a sport. And that's really what's going on. I mean, you can't turn your TV on, you can't turn your phone on.
Yeah.
Something happening to one of us. Granted, some folks, hey, some things you shouldn't do. Granted. But then there has to be some level of discretion that is involved with those placed in authoritative positions to monitor and police areas. They have to have more discretion. And, as it comes down to this, you know, Charleston 9 situation, I think more people jumped on it for the spectacle that it was versus the real tumult that could
Mm.
have happened to Charleston.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, everyone was saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, this shouldn't have happened." Yeah, you're right, it shouldn't have happened, and you may be sorry. But what are you doing to prove your sorrowfulness?
Yeah.
What are you doing to prohibit things like this from happening? These are the questions that most times I often ask white people. And I'm gonna say it plain and simple. I often ask white people point blank, period, what is your problem? You know, we have a problem, and there's an issue of communication or either understanding. If we comply by standing up, sitting down, laying down, moving, sitting, sleeping, rolling over, getting on the ground, hands behind our backs, you have a problem with everything that we do. You have a problem with Colin Kaepernick kneeling. That means you have a problem with me who served this country. Let me share with you all. For all of my veterans in the building who served on active duty, you went into MEPS. You swore in. You said the following words. You, your first and your last name, do swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies.
Foreign and
Key
domestic.
in on this point. Foreign and domestic. We have had one terrorist act on the United States soil, and they said it was done by terrorists. I beg to differ.
Mm.
We have more domestic terrorists here than anywhere. And guess what? When I got out the military, I was never debriefed from my oath of enlistment. I was never debriefed. I don't think any one of us, we were debriefed from our jobs. We were tired. We were out processed, whatever the case may be. But we were never debriefed from defending the Constitution of the United States of America, all enemies, foreign and domestic. Hence, for everyone out there who is wondering about whether Colin Kaepernick is wrong or whether Drew Brees is wrong, first and foremost, why should you be looking at an entertainer or a sports celebrity to try to figure out what's really going on in politics? That's another topic for another day. However, from a military standpoint, to defend the Constitution says he has the right to kneel, he has the right to stand.
Yep.
So when we fight and we take on the uniform, we're not fighting to say you should kneel or not kneel. We're fighting to say you have a choice, and we fight for you to keep that choice.
Mm.
So it wasn't disrespectful to the military. It wasn't disrespectful to anything about Colin Kaepernick. Neither was Drew Brees' standpoint. Neither. However, I think it would be more disrespectful to the military that you don't.
Mm. Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. Very
Now,
poignant
granted,
points,
this is
man.
my perspective, but granted, this is just my stance on it. But then most of my stances come from legal documentation. And when I raised my right hand and I took my oath of enlistment, I was sworn to that until the day I died. And if I died in combat protecting that, guess what? That's what I did. Thankfully, combat didn't see me and I didn't see combat. Nonetheless, it doesn't change the fact that that's what I said. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
All of that to tie back into the Belarus situation. That was a domestic terrorist attack. He should have been responded to as a domestic terrorist.
Mm.
And when we see domestic terrorism happen, how do we respond to terrorists in other places as Americans? How?
We bomb.
We bomb them. Who was it? Which person was this that said bomb Iran? Bomb Iran made a joke out of it. But that was a good point. If it was a
Ah.
terrorist attack, they got bombed. Who?
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't happen here on American soil. And unfortunately, it would seem, I'm not going to say it is, but it would seem most inherent that the terrorism that has happened on this continent to this people has been done by that people. I don't have to go into details about that. You can read between the lines.
Mm-hmm.
What has been done to us, and all people are not white. It is domestic terrorism. How can you how can you how can you accept it? How? Can you accept this? How can you accept the 16th Street bombing, Baptist church bombing? How can you accept it? And then let's not even go into the levels of the unspoken things that happen in Birmingham, Alabama, in the
Yeah.
backwoods of South Carolina, and way out yonder in Georgia. What happens for those? Where's the justice? Where's the justice? Malcolm X said it best: you don't find justice in the courtroom. You find that in the street. You'll never find justice in the
Mm.
courtroom. Never.
Wow. Very poignant. Again, like that's absolutely, I agree with everything you just said. Everything you just said, especially from a standpoint of like truth is truth. Truth is truth, and you got to stand on that. So I definitely stand by you on that. Um, so just staying in that regard. So I mean, with that being said, what are your thoughts about the protests that have been happening, around the world? Um, Started out in Minneapolis. The protests really got kicked off in Minneapolis after the George Floyd murder, and the video coming out from that. Of course, before that we had, right before that we had Breonna Taylor. Right before that we had Ahmaud Arbery, and like you said, Philando Castile, Trayvon Martin.
The
Ahmaud
list is
Abu.
endless.
Like it's just like it's so many people that you. I'm not gonna go because I'm interviewing you, but the list is endless. And so what are your thoughts about the protests that are happening? What's your reaction to it, and where do you think it goes from here?
As for the protests, it is your constitutional right. Let me go legal first. It is your constitutional right to protest, as long as your protest is not violent. No, though protesting is not wrong. It's not wrong because the people are tired, and when you have a people who are tired, you will begin to see change. And you're not. That's what even with a personal thing. You go through something long enough. Well, you keep going through it. You ain't tired.
Mm-hmm.
It's not until you get tired that you begin to change.
Mm-hmm.
As we are seeing this paradigm shift in the nation, it's shifting because people are tired. People are finally tired. People are finally tired. And it's not, I don't think there's going to be any kind of rest to the civil unrest anytime soon until, first of all, lawfully and legally, there are changes made to the law. The changes have to be made to the law.
Yeah.
Why the law? Because the law has the statutes, and the
Yes.
law has the powers given to it by the state, and the state is backed by the federal government who gives it its power to operate. So until the laws are changed, we're going to continue to see this. And anytime that these laws don't change and there's more civil unrest, you're going to see riot control. You're going to see
Yeah.
riot squads. And eventually, you're eventually going to see martial law. Under martial law, that means the military now comes in to enforce whatever's going on by state government, local government, or federal government at that point. And then if they feel it necessary to use whatever level of force to keep control over an area, well, guess what? It's going to happen. And more people are going to die. Innocent people are going to die. Fortunate, and I hate to say it, but people are going to die. People are going to go to jail for nothing. People are going to have their voices taken for telling the truth. People like you, people like myself, or forbid that. But people who are truthsayers, especially those who are like me, who will go into their own lives and put themselves out there first and let someone know, hey, I made this mistake. I made this error. I've had this problem. And when we get out and we start to tell what's going on from the truth standpoint, well, now we have a problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you everybody who's tuning in. This is Real Talk with Rajon. Just to reset, this is Real Talk with Rajon. I'm your host, Rajon Lewis. Tonight we are interviewing a good friend of mine, Mr. Tajriq SpellBound. We've known each other for quite some time, and we're talking about current events topics. And really, I'm just letting him riff because sometimes you just need to give people an opportunity to get stuff off. You know what I mean? Like we gotta be able to get the stuff off. We're also talking about his poetry and his writing. So it's a lot to get into. But right now we're talking about those subjects. I do want to make sure that I do take the time to say this. I got to thank my sponsors. This episode has been sponsored by Science to See. For all your custom needs, please visit www.science2c.com and use this discount code Real Talk 2020. Real Talk 2020. That's the discount code. 10% off of your order. Go get what you need. I got all kinds of stuff. I got a mask, a Real Talk mask, so I'm safe when I go out in these streets. I got Real Talk shirts.
You're one of those.
I got me a Real Talk mug, so you can get if you want to order some Real Talk stuff, you can. If you don't want to order that, you can get anything you want custom made. Science to C, www.science2c.com. Discount code Real Talk 2020. Now, with that being said, we're gonna get back to the matter at hand. Tariq, so we just talked about the protests. We talked about the laws changing. So how about this? Like today, and this was a major announcement. The Jhansi Calhoun statue, which is if you've ever been downtown Charleston, you cannot miss that statue. You drive down Calhoun Street, and right in front of Marion Square, which used to be the home of the Citadel, you see that giant statue sticking out of the middle of the ground, and I think it's up 150 feet, and it's the Jhansi Calhoun statue. Now, if you're not from South Carolina, or you have never opened a history book, you don't know who Jhansi Calhoun is. Let me explain who Jhansi Calhoun was. Jhansi Calhoun.
Please tell him before I do.
No, I'm gonna let you know what. I'm gonna let you cook. You go ahead. You let them know who it is. Because this is your show. I got you. Go ahead.
You take Jhansi Calhoun. I'll take the Citadel. You take Jhansi Calhoun.
Jhansi Calhoun is one of the most notorious racists in the history of our country. Period. Bar none. There's no evidence that he was a Klansman, but I'm just saying. So Jhansi Calhoun, they put this statue up. I believe that he ran for president like twice, and he never actually won. But I think I'm trying to remember. But anyway, he's one of the largest slave owners. Very big into making sure that we keep the African Americans in our country, which we weren't African Americans, African slaves and Black people in general, down. And he overlooks the city of Charleston and has for about 128 years now. You cannot drive through the city of Charleston without seeing that statue. We have streets named after him. There are the Yale School, the Yale courtyard used to be named after Jhansi Calhoun, and Clemson's Honors College used to be named after Jhansi Calhoun, and they just changed the name of that in 2017, and Yale changed theirs as well. So yeah, he's pretty bad. He's a pretty bad guy. In those terms. So they announced today that statue is going to come down. When is it going to come down? We don't know yet, but we do know that it is going to come down. And the one thing that I've realized from these young people is they're not waiting for you. That's all I'm going to say about that, and I'm going to let that cook. But you go ahead. You can talk about the Citadel, or you can continue on Calhoun. Go ahead, bro.
You covered Jhansi Calhoun just fine.
All right.
I ain't going no further than that. But let me give you all a little quick history lesson, and big shout out to my instructor at College of Charleston during my freshman year, Dr. Delaney. He taught me this, and it stuck with me ever since. He taught us that about a man named Denmark Vesey, who happened to be from Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah.
He was planning a slave rebellion, and he had gotten all kinds of slaves together. Even amongst slavery, he was able to organize. And let's hold that word organized. Stick a pin in that and hold that right there. I'm gonna tie it off with that. He was able to get even slaves organized to plan a slave rebellion. It would have most likely been bigger than that Turner slave rebellion. He had it done all the way from Virginia down to Florida and a couple other places. Well, the Citadel was put in place there where Marion Square is now. That used to be the Citadel. It was a Confederate military installation at the time. It was a Confederate military installation intended to counteract the slave rebellion. So one man could organize that many, enough to where the Confederate Army said, no, we have to find him. And they found him, and they chopped him up, spread him all over Charleston. So right now, where my house is at, his arm might be over here, and I might be sleeping on top of his arm. Well, that should let you know exactly how deep the prejudice, hatred, and the racism really runs in this country. And it wasn't that long ago, which brings me to another point. And I hate to go off the script with this.
You got it. Go ahead.
Here's the thing. I've noticed a lot of white folks have a tendency of telling us as Black people, it was so long ago. That was ancient history. Was it really that long ago? No. No, my dad was born in 1914. My father born in 1914, February 14th, 1914. His parents were the children. I'm sorry, they probably were slaves because they were old when they had him.
Mm-hmm.
So most likely, my grandmother was a slave. My grandfather most likely was a slave. And all of that being said, to say this, it wasn't that long ago. You can't tell me. Number one, the United States is under 250 years old. That's not very old in terms of how history has been recorded. You want to talk about old? Let's go back to the ancient Egyptians. That's 3,000 plus. That's ancient history. This is recent modern history. When we can listen to a recording from Johann Sebastian Bach as it was written today, that's pretty recent history. You can't tell me that something from right then is not recent enough for me to feel something about it. Another thing that someone said, and you've probably seen this meme floating around, says no white person alive today was a slave owner. No black person alive today was a slave.
Mm.
Is that true? According to the 13th Amendment, you go to jail, that's what you are.
Mm-hmm.
So has slavery completely been abolished? Because I figured abolish means done away with completely.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone. There's no provision made for slavery to be kept intact. That's what I thought. But who am I and what do I know?
Yeah.
So the
So,
point is,
uh-huh.
the point is, and I make sure that some of my white friends and counterparts, they know you have no right to tell me or you as a father, myself as an uncle, you as a husband, myself as a soon to be husband. You have no right to tell us how to feel when we walk out the house because we're double targeted. We're targeted from our own, we're targeted from them. What do we do? If we stay in the house, we can't make money. If we go outside, there's a threat of dying ahead of our time. So you can't tell me as a young black man, or you as a young black man, a young black father, how to feel. You can't tell us that. Not when you're killing people who look like us in our age group every day. You
Yeah.
can't do this. This is the madness of white privilege that you can tell me to tell me, hey, don't look at it that way. Oh, geez, that sucks. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like hell, it sucks. Of course it does. Anyhow,
It's
you want to trade shoes with me?
something's funny. So something about that. Somebody asked me the other day. They were like, "What would somebody tell you? What if somebody told you? How would you feel if somebody told you that they don't believe that white privilege exists, or that they don't believe that racism exists?" And what I told them
Oh
was
man.
the first thing I would wonder is how awesome it must live a life where you cannot witness that for yourself. How awesome must life be that you don't experience that for yourself? That you don't realize that when certain things are said and when certain things are done, they are done explicitly and implicitly with bias. How awesome must it be to live a life where you can experience certain benefits based on nothing that you've done, yet still wonder, but still consider yourself better than someone else? I just listened. I just finished Stamped by Dr. Ibram X. Kendi, which was interpreted by Jason Alexander, and
Mhm.
he does a job, such a masterful job of separating people in history into three categories. There's separatists. There's uh, assimilationists, and then there's anti-racists. So the separatists are the racists, right? Those are the people who
Mhm.
do not believe like in not only the equality of African American people, but the intellectual ability of African American people, or the ability of African American people to control themselves, or whatever. Like those are separatists, those are racists. Then you have assimilationists. Assimilationists believe that in order for black people to succeed, we must become more like white people or we must make white people love us. And then there's anti-racists. And anti-racists say that regardless of how white people may feel about us, we have the unequivocated right to be and love ourselves, independent of their gaze and independent of their thoughts. When I listened to that, that really made me reconsider a lot of the ways that I carry myself in my life. And that's gonna play itself out as time goes on. But as you were speaking, those are the things that I thought about, is the fact that for so long, we've been told that the best qualities to have did not relate to being black. The best qualities to have did not relate to our skin color or the way that we were upbrought, the way that we were brought, and even the things that we consider to be good, if you will, are words that are derivative of things that they consider to be bad. Now, of course, these things don't apply to all white people. These things don't apply to all non-African American people. Shoot, these things do apply to some actual black people. All right. So with that being said, how do you see the role of African Americans in our country changing and shaping and growing and building as these years go forward, as a result of these changes that are being forced upon people? Because they are being forced, but they are happening. But how do you see the role of African Americans expanding and growing, and what's the way forward?
Okay. Boy, that's a lot to unpack. So let me see if I can do it. Time's ticking.
Yeah.
Well, we got a lot of ground to cover. Let's start off with our ladies. Let's start this off with the ladies, our sisters. It's funny you mentioned you have to how we've been conditioned as a people that anything that's going to be of us has to be like them. It's very unfortunate. When we look at perms, we look at chemicals, we look at the wigs, we look at the weaves, we look at all that kind of stuff. We look at all these multicolored things and this, that, and the third. Like, look here, sister, you don't have that naturally grown out. You don't have that. I understand it's yours, it's your money. But here's the thing: you bought it, you own it. That's right, that's yours. But here's the thing: is that you? Is that who you are? And here's the thing: we have to look at our sisters because they bring the lives that we plant the seed into. They bring that life forward. We plant the seed, they bring the life. We give the seed, they give us a whole child. So I think one of the first places that we have to really start looking at is the dichotomy of thinking of our sisters. Be who you are. Be who you are. You don't, I put it like this: I got dreadlocks. I don't have dreadlocks to be like Bob Marley. I have dreadlocks because I understand what they stand for, and I don't ever want to go back looking like what I looked like when I was in the military. Ever. I understand. So this is who I am. I had the braids from the time I got out in 2004 up until 2015 when I locked up. That's who I am. You don't have to put on someone else's for you to be who you are. The San Diego Padres hat. I'm a New York Yankees fan. They're like diametrically opposed. But guess what? I can take this hat off and throw it. I'm still a Yankees fan.
Yeah.
With the brothers, I think we have a responsibility to, first of all, protect ourselves. We have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to protect our women. We have a responsibility to protect our children. We have a responsibility to protect our community. We have that responsibility. And I believe all of that starts with leadership. So I think in order for this transitioning period to happen, we have to look at the dichotomy of our thinking, and we have to change. We have to, as we've been assimilated into that thought, we have to disassemble it. We have to take it completely apart. Discard the parts we no longer need. Discard those. I put it like this. I have on this is a Cultivate Bank shirt, Cultivate Bank blazer. Am I not Tajriq, aka SpellBound, if I was just in a tank top? I sure am. So I should be able to take this off and take this off and still have the respect of someone in the street who
Yeah.
might look at me and say, oh, that's just another black dude. But guess what? That's not the thinking of our society.
Yeah.
So we have to look at it in perspective here.
Yeah.
If you want respect, you must first give it. Okay, you want to treat people. I heard someone posted, why not? Why can't we all just see to treat people the way that we want to be treated?
Yeah.
Because that's not the way the world works. The world doesn't work like that. And I think as a people, we have to get over that thinking as well.
Mm.
That's not our reality. That's the reality for someone else, but that's not ours. It's not ours. It's never been ours. And unfortunately, as long as this current power structure is in place, it won't be our reality.
Yeah.
Malcolm X said something. They called him racist because he believed in nationalism. He believed that black folks should have their own. Black folks should be separate from white folks. He believed that. He believed that with everything he was until he went to Mecca and he saw that black Muslims and white Muslims were all doing the same thing. Let's go back to when he was thinking. Did we what did we really gain 100% out of segregation? Because here's what we got. After after desegregation and the project housing and everything else, guess what we had? We had a separation between man and woman in
Mm.
our community. The feminist movement of the 60s, it had nothing to do with black women. It had nothing to do with black wanting to have be equal to their men in these authoritative positions. So they come to black women because they didn't have the numbers. They didn't have the power. Black women say, you know, that's right, but guess what? Your man is coming home to you every night. You don't have the argument.
Mm.
You don't have the discretion. You don't have the argument that white women had at that time. Black women didn't have that. Might have had a man dipping and dabbling, doing stuff he had no business, but coming home, he still worked. In fact, one of the most staggering statistics that happened, and I saw this in I believe it was 1960, somewhere between 1960 and 1962, if I'm not mistaken. 96% of able-bodied black men that could work were working.
Mm.
Were working. This is in 1960. My mom was alive in 1960. Your mom was alive in 1960. This is
Okay.
not ancient history. I got an aunt who was alive in 1960. I got a whole boy who was alive in 1960. I got large brothers who was alive in 1960 who saw this. So when this separation happened between man and woman in our community, these housing projects says, well, hey, if you get on this program, I'm going to make sure that you have this. I'm going to make sure you have that. Just don't bring the man in the house. So when you don't have the man to bring headship and leadership, you don't have that. Now guess what you have? You have mama raising children without man. Man don't feel like she need him for anything. Man is destitute. 70s, this really took off. 80s, it really took off, especially when the drugs came in the game. Crack cocaine was introduced. Now that man who could have been in the house raising his children, going to church or the mosque or whatever the faith was, now you see that this kind of thing, that's not happening. So he turns to a drug. He got to make money. He got to do something. He's on the drugs or he's selling the drugs. One or the other. In the 90s, with this big, this feminist women's power movement, ain't nothing going on but the rent. Well, see, guess what? That did some destruction to our community too.
Mm-hmm.
That did a lot. And as we can see to this day, it's the same thing. I'm pro-marriage, using that for an example. I am pro-marriage. I am pro-heterosexual marriage. I ain't knocking nobody who gay. I ain't knocking nobody who feminist. That's y'all business. Y'all do y'all thing. But I'm pro-heterosexual marriage based on what the Bible has to say. And as far as I'm concerned, when that was destroyed, our foundation was destroyed there, that pretty much put us as a people in a position of where we are now. There's so much dissension between the man and the woman, which creates dissension between the children and the parents. And you have that in the home. So charity begins at home and goes abroad. So what happens in the house, it's gonna go out into the street. It's gonna go out. So this is why there's a need for order. There's a need for order and there's a need for structure. So to get back to tie it all back in, when we look at the structure of our people, the current structure that we have, We have none. We have none. We have in our community, we have haves and we have have-nots. That's what we have in our community. But guess what? Is that inherently ours? No, because we are a giving people. We have always, even in ancient Africa, we gave. We did. We had whole communities. When you look at ancient Mesopotamia, look at the cradle of the cradle of creation and all that stuff. The Nile River Delta, things of that nature where we really thrive. We had whole communities where we had men doing what men do, women doing what women do, children doing what children do. That was a structure. But when that structure is destroyed, it is destroyed from a crack in the infrastructure. Something happened on the inside, and guess what? We didn't do it to us.
Mm-hmm.
We got duped. We got duped. We got duped. And because we got duped, we can't get unduped. But what's happening now, as you said, we have this new generation of young minds and young thinkers who they ain't waiting on Christmas to come to get done. They ain't waiting.
No, they're not waiting on nothing.
They're not waiting. They're gonna go out into the street, and if you don't want to take this thing down, well, guess what? We'll bomb it down, and we'll go to jail for it. Well, you see, we now have a generation of people who feel that, okay, well, you didn't took everything else from us, but do we have to lose? Because if you don't want to listen to us, we're gonna make you listen to us. But you see, this is what the baby boomer generation probably took our generation, Rajon, took our generation to took from us. Because guess what? My dad's generation, the World War I generation, they were the predecessors to the children we have now.
Yes.
Because in the World War I generation, they may not have wanted to go to war, but they went. When they came back, they may not have wanted to go to work, but they did. So things had to change. They had to. And now what we see is these children having very similar roots to that, except for this. They're impatient, and what they think is right and justifiable, guess what? They're going to go for that. And if you can't take that and try to mold it into it's raw energy. It's raw energy.
Yeah.
You can do a lot with raw energy, but how much more can you do when you take that raw energy and you bring it together and you synthesize it? You have energy going here, energy going there, and it's all working in sync for a common goal.
I love
this
that.
Is where we are now, and this is what we must do. This is what we must do as a people. We must do this now as a people in order for us to flourish and again begin to build order out of chaos. We got to first get an infrastructure together. And it's simple. I think it's simple. I think it's simpler than anything else. I think it's a very simple process. All it takes is one person doing their job, another person doing their job. And I'm not trying to do your job, and you ain't trying to do mine.
Absolutely.
If you're a barber, if you're a barber, then you go ahead and cut hair. But I'm coming to that barber shop to tell you how to cut. Now, here it is. I'm a notary. You ain't gonna come into my notary business and tell me how to sign something. I got laws that back me for that. But when you need something signed for your business, I'm gonna sign it. And when I need a trim on my beard, I'm gonna step in the barbershop. This is what happened on Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Everybody did their job, but nobody trying. If you was cooking, you was in the kitchen. If you were doing tires, you was doing tires. And everybody was satisfied with that. The chiefs, too many chiefs and not enough Indians sometimes. That's the issue.
Yeah.
You still need Indians to work in the tribe.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think everything you just said, like I agree totally with, man. It's just well, it's not everything you just said I completely can agree with, because there's a couple things I did disagree with, but this ain't the time for that, so I'm not gonna do that. But I will say overall, the message definitely was clear that we have to do our part. There was a comment that was made that I want to make sure that I respond to, in regards to African Americans, and just people, finding commonality with people that look like them. And the comment was made by my good friend. Well, I don't know him, but he's been watching my show so long that I feel like we're friends at this point. Ryan Claymore. I don't know where you at in the world right now, man, but thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Ryan's been watching like 2 years now. He's a good guy, and I appreciate it. He's a Republican. I think he was a Trump supporter. If he isn't still, I don't know. But thank you so much for watching, because we need people with dissenting opinions to make this thing great again, if you will.
Yes, we do.
But yeah, I made it funny. But
Mahad.
He talked about, the fact that, and I want to go back to the comment. He was talking about, he says, if you put 100 people that don't know each other of all races and put them in a giant room together, they will separate themselves out by race, all on their own with no external influence. I would say maybe, except for if those people were children. Because if we put 100 children in a room, they would just talk to the kids around them. They wouldn't find the other black kids. You took kids and put those kids in a room. The kids that had not to have an opportunity to experience the world and identify the things that society tells them about those other children in the room. There's no one has yet, poured into that child. Oh, you're supposed to not like that person because of the size of their nose, or because of the color of their skin, or because the way that because of the TV shows that they watch, or because the channel that they watch. Like they watch this channel and they watch this channel, so we can't talk to the people who watch this channel. Oh, they're not supposed to wear those clothes. When they wear those clothes, they look like this type of person. Children without that type of influence would just talk to the kids around them. Now you take 100 adults who've been influenced by the world, who've experienced the world, and then watch them. That's a totally different thing. And what we have as a society have to do, which you keyed on perfectly, Tajriq, is we have to do our part. When I'm in a room full of people, it's my job to talk to the people around me and not say, well, I'm not going to talk to the people next to me because they don't fit into the boxes of the people that I want to talk to. And I'm going to go walk across the room to find the people who think and look and act and talk like me. The more conversations we can have with people who think differently than we do, the better versions of ourselves we become. We live in an era of social media where we're operating in silos. We live in a world where if I don't like what somebody has to say, I just block them. And when I block them, the algorithm says that people who talk, act, and think like that person, Rajan doesn't want to see that person. So I never hear opinions that are different than my own. And I never grow. There was a time in my life, and I'm sorry, I'm ranting a little bit. There was a time in my life I used to listen to the Rush Limbaugh show. I used to listen to Rush Limbaugh, not because I was down with anything that he was saying. I wanted to know what people who thought differently than I do thought. And I wanted to know what people who thought differently than me thought about me. That meant something to me. In those opportunities,
absolutely.
In listening to that, I was able to grow and learn. You talked about the military, Tajriq. You know, that's when people talk about like America as the great American, like the great melting pot. The military is the best example of the great American melting pot. There was nothing in the American system that is parallel to what the military is. Why do I know that? Because the first thing that was integrated in the United States of America was the military. It was the first thing. Before anything else was integrated, the military was integrated. Now, does the military have its own share of problems? Definitely. But I'll tell you one thing.
So no.
You will never feel closer to a person that looks nothing like you than you will when you're in a place where people are firing weapons at you because of the uniform that you have on. Not because of how you look.
That's a fact.
We all have on this same uniform. We all represent the same thing. And this is where cops get it wrong. And I'm sorry. I know I'm ranting, bro. This is where cops
I'm enjoying it. Take your time.
This is where cops get it wrong. Because there's this thing going around called Blue Lives Matter. That is the dumbest statement ever. And not because I hate police. I understand the role of police officers. I understand the importance of community policing. I have all due respect for every single person that puts on that uniform. The problem is this. If I'm in the army, and I'm going to go back to the army as the comparison. If I'm in the army and I watch one of my fellow soldiers kill an unarmed civilian, it is my sworn duty to report that person for doing something that is against the laws of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. We have certain terms of war that we have to follow. And police officers also have the same thing. So if you are on a force with somebody that you know is dirty, and y'all know who the dirty ones are, you know who the dirty ones are. If you see if you see police officers shaking down drug dealers, it happens. If you see police officers taking stolen items, if you see police officers soliciting prostitutes and making prostitutes do things so that they won't report them, this happens. You see police officers breaking the law and you don't say something, and then you say, oh, it's the thin blue line, the blue shield, whatever the blue thing that you want it to be. You're wrong. You're just as dirty as the cop that you're helping. Now, Blue Lives Matter. There are black police officers who have reported the fact that when not in uniform, they faced racial injustice from police officers. How, Sway? If it's a blue life, if you're a blue life, that means when I take off this uniform, I'm still protected. I'm still a part of your brotherhood. If this is blue life, if blue lives matter, when I take off this uniform, I'm still one of you. But guess what? I take off this uniform, and what am I still stuck with? Black skin. And that's why Blue Lives Matter. That's why Blue Lives Matter is a problem. And that's why Blue Lives Matter is wrong. I would love to live in a world where we are blind to skin color. I would love to live in a world where I don't have to tell my children how to act around police officers because they may perceive them as aggressive or problematic. I would love to live in a world where I don't have to tense up when I see blue lights, whether that car is coming for me or not. But we don't. We don't live in that world. And I will never lie to myself, to my children, or to my white friends about how that feels. That's all I got to say about that, bro. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. No. Brother, you went on a tangent.
Yeah.
And your tangent sounded just like mine. I'm glad.
Hey, man.
Listen, I told the folks we was going to cook tonight.
We
put it on the grill and we fried it.
We cooking, bro. But yeah, man, I want to give you an opportunity to let people know, where can they find your work? Where can they find you if they want to follow you? Where can they do that?
You can follow me right there on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Tajriq SpellBound. You can follow me on Instagram. Instagram just Tajriq, Tajriq. It's just me by myself. It ain't a whole lot of information there because I'm not really on it. But if you want to follow, please by all means do so. Let's see, any other social media. Yeah, you can check out some of my music on Reverb Nation /Tajriq. /Tajriq, Reverb Nation. My music is. I'm gonna work on a couple of new projects coming up. Bruh, I got a quick question. I got enough time to kick a couple of shout outs.
Yeah, right. Do that. Cook.
All right. A couple of shout outs real quick before we get ready to close off for the night. D93 staff. Namely Deja D when she was there, and Lil Show, Kid Shanard, gave me the name Spellbound. Gave me the name Spellbound in 2007 at I forgot the name of the place where we were, and we were in Goose Creek. Good times in Goose Creek. Gave me the name that night for a poem I did called Poetic Delivery, where I went through the alphabet using nothing but the same letter for the same words that rhyme. That was hard to write. But thank you so much. Thank you for your support over the years and always believing in me. Big shout out to DJ Cass, always supporting me as well. Big shout out to DJ Cass. Big shout out to DJ Vince D, one of my big homies. DJ Vince D, my man, DJ D Nice, my man from way back in the day. Who else? All of the local area radio stations have shown me love over the years. to my crew out there in the James Island area, little known fact, y'all, I was a part of a group called Left Aesthetic from about 2009 to 2013. And we pretty much blazed the James Island circuit. We opened up for Vanilla Ice at the Dive in Goose Creek. We opened up for Bubba Sparks. We've done a lot. We've done Cloverfest. You name it, we've done it. So big shout out to Ellie, etc. He and his family now. Big shout out to y'all, to my producers over the years and my engineers, King One Studios. I appreciate you, big homie. To my main man, Ray Siafu. I couldn't talk anything about music without him. He has produced the music that I've recorded on. He's been there for a lot. He's covered me a lot. I appreciate him. If he's out there listening, Ray Siafu, I salute you. Let's see who else. DJ Sparta. DJ Sparta, I appreciate you. Appreciate you a lot. Thank you for trusting me with your music. To my cousin, oh Lord, D Cutter, I appreciate you, big homie. Thank you for everything you've done for me and the music you've entrusted me with. Anyone who's assisted me, big shout out to my neighborhood, 8 Mile, Bennett Yard Road, to the squad out there. Young Grasshopper, my man, Vegas. Appreciate you, big homie. Thank you. He says I'm his favorite artist, and he's my favorite artist. To my fiance who supported me for everything. Love you, honey. Thank you. I appreciate you. One of these days, you're going to get on one of these shows with me. Thank you. Above all, to God be the glory for everything that he has done. Thank God for you, Rajon. Thank God for your family. Thank God for them supporting you and everything that you've done over the years. Again, like I told you before, I've watched you grow. Man, you got a real life testimony. You got a real life testimony. Continue to share it with the world. Continue to share it with the world as you see fit. You know what? I ain't wrong for this. I got to kick myself a shout out because without me, I couldn't do this. So big shout out to me.
shout out to me.
Shout out to me. You got to kick yourself a shout out every now and then. I'll go last. I'll go last, man. But this has absolutely been a blast. And my last closing thought to anyone who's under the sound of my voice. Listen, if you know anything about me, you probably know me for a long time. I ain't gonna bite my tongue for you. I really don't care about your feelings, and you shouldn't care about mine because feelings, they're chemicals, they're meant to change. Always gonna stand. And if you have a challenge to anything I said lawfully and legally, I'm willing to hear it. Outside of that, one more thing, Rajon. I wanna drop this on you. The 3/5 compromise, to your knowledge, has that ever been changed in the Constitution on the amendments?
Yeah, it has. Yeah, African Americans definitely count as whole people now.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
Whew.
Definitely.
I've been wondering about that for the longest. A lot of the information that I've gotten was bad information. It was bad information, so I'm glad about that.
Yeah, African Americans definitely count as a whole person.
Once again, you all, outstanding. I would like to thank your audience today for taking time out of their schedules. To those who came as a request of my own, and to those who come as a request to you, all of you, thank you all. May God continue to know what God you serve, but my God, who is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that's Jesus Christ, Daddy. I mean, the God I serve. May He continue. And thank you all for your time this evening and all that you've done to make this. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to come back. Rajon, hopefully you open up a panel one day. Hopefully this COVID will blow off and we can get the studio and really do it. Man, I've enjoyed, man.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for joining me, bro. I really appreciate it.
You let me know.
You know, I'll welcome you back. You know what time it is. All right. So thank you guys so much for
being here.
All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. Let me cue my music up so I can. Thank you so much for watching this week. Reminder that the Local Celebrity Spotlight shines every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. most of the time, where I interview my local celebrities and unsung heroes. Tomorrow night, I'm actually doing a special. My Local Celebrity Spotlight's going to shine on G. Jordan, who was the young gentleman who was arrested in Marion Square for protesting. The guy who, his video went viral, super viral, and now, even people on the likes of Jay-Z are making sure that his charges are canceled. So tomorrow night at 7 p.m. he's going to be on. If you are doing something in the community that you would like a light shined on, please reach out to me on my website. That's www.realtalkwithjean.com so that we can discuss getting you on the show. This and all my shows in addition to the Card Chronicles series, available for your listening pleasure via Apple, Google, Spotify, and wherever else you can find podcasts. You can also find it on my website. That's www.realtalkwithrejan.com. If you'd like to be made aware of when I go live, because sometimes it is unscheduled, please be sure to click the follow or subscribe tab on the page and turn on your notifications so that you'll know when something new has been posted to the page. In the meantime, please follow me on social media to stay up to date with what's happening on Real Talk with Rajan. On Twitter, it's at Real Talk Rajan. On Facebook, at Real Talk with Rajan. On Periscope, it's at Real Talk with Rajan. On Instagram, it's Real Talk Rajan. Feel free to leave comments, questions, whatever else you'd like to say in the comment section or the message section. I love getting your messages and reading your feedback, even if it's negative. I would also appreciate it if you could leave me a 5-star rating on the podcast or a review on my Facebook or YouTube channel. I'm also accepting invitations for speaking engagements and event hosting opportunities. If you would like for me to speak at or host your event, you can request me via my website. You guessed it. That's www.realtalkrajan.com. In closing, always remember that God is everything, and without him, we are nothing. So never forget where your help comes from. And if a man doesn't stand up for something, he's bound to fall for anything. Now that is real talk. I will see y'all tomorrow night. Peace.